Yeah, of course I'm sure. I better go.
We open in a building where police breach a building with a dangerous individual named Trinity. Outside of the building, our Matrix agents, Agents Smith, Brown and Jones, get to the scene outside the building. They advise the chief of the dangerous individual, where the scene shifts to Trinity surrendering. However, Trinity has some other plans. During this, the agents head into the building, where Morpheus guides her on an escape path, as the agents walk upstairs and follow her to roofside in hot pursuit. Even jumping across buildings and bullets as the agents and police follow her. Trinity gets guided to a phone across the street. At the last second, she manages to escape the agents trying to kill her. The scene shifts towards our main protagonist, Thomas Anderson, a renowned hacker named Neo, getting woken up by his computer screen telling him to wake up and follow them into a club later. Selling computer viruses outside of his apartment to a man inside the group. Neo has a strange feeling to go figure out the Matrix, going with them to a club where he meets Trinity. Talking to her, Trinity warns Neo about the Matrix watching him and the danger of him, and his uncertainty about the world. Trinity advises the idea of the Matrix as something he won't expect. Trinity only describes the underlying feelings that Neo has. Trinity also warns him of the false expectation that Morpheus will set him free with truth. Later, Neo returns home and wakes up late for work. His boss unhappy with his punctuality and his belief that Neo thinks higher of himself. He firmly suggests he be at work on time. Neo moves to his office where he receives a package. Opening the package and discovering a phone inside. Neo ducks down inside his cubicle where Morpheus rings to advise that the Matrix is looking for him and that he isn't safe there.
They're coming for you, Neo, and I don't know so.
Neo looks up to see the agents in the office, as Morpheus gives him a strict guideline of where to walk to escape, even telling him to walk outside next to the building window. Neo was obviously terrified and dropped the phone sent to him. He is shown to be taken in by the agents in a black car, where multiple screens show his appearance in an interrogation room. Agent Smith sits down with a large stack of files against Neo and his second life as a hacker. Smith, talking to Neo, mentions his contact with Morpheus. He warns him of the dangers with working with him, only here to serve one person to Smith, and that is to help capture Morpheus, even saying he is the most dangerous person alive. In return for helping Agent Smith, Neo will have his slate cleaned for his second life. However, he must get his full cooperation as Neo holds up the finger against his idea. Neo asks for his rights for a phone call and for him to stop the interrogation. But Neo's mouth starts to fuse together, being held against the table and implanted with a tracker. After the intense exchange in the interrogation room, Neo wakes up as he has a nightmare from before. In his apartment, the phone starts to ring again, with Morpheus telling him the dangerous information. Morpheus keeps the conversation light as he knows Neo is bugged. Neo asks what is happening, but Morpheus says to Neo that he is the one, and the scene shifts outside in the rain. Trinity calls Neo to hop in the car, where she points a gun at him. Unsure that Neo is cooperating with the agents, they stop the car and demand Neo to take off his shirt. Trinity asking Neo to trust him or he can leave. Neo takes the risk to believe in Trinity and does what she says. Trinity pulls out a massive tracker removal tool onto his stomach. As they pull out a massive bug from his stomach, Neo was shocked and thought it was a dream. They discard the bug onto the road and head to a building with Morpheus in it.
This is it? Nice.
As Trinity opens the door for Neo, Morpheus, standing in front, is surprised to see Neo. He greets him and tells him about the rabbit hole that Neo was following, and the odd world.
Tumbling down the rabbit hole?
As he talks to Neo about the current world, the idea of the world being against his will, the presence of a system where he can't even see the difference between prison and reality.
But you feel it. Nothing wrong with the world. You don't know what
Morpheus describes this prison to Neo as being everywhere and everything he has loved. From eating and going to work, no matter how small in his life, he is still trapped in a prison.
The Matrix is everywhere. You can see it when you look up.
The Matrix is just a cover of the truth that is much bigger than them. Further stating that Neo is a slave within a system like everyone else, and he can decide his fate.
like every smell or taste.
Morpheus takes out a pill canister, talking to Neo of an irreversible truth far greater than them, where the red pill unlocks the truth, or he can live out his life in the Matrix.
You take a bed and believe whatever you want to believe, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Neo nervously reaches for the red pill as he gulps down the red pill with water. Morpheus walks Neo to prepare him for the truth. Morpheus reveals the effects of the red pill as a trace program as Neo starts to feel the effects of reality warping around him, moving his hand inside a mirror like a jelly surface. He talks to Neo about being in a dreamtime world where everyone is unable to wake up. As the mirror in jelly form starts to encapsulate Neo and his entire body, Neo panics.
Tank, we're going to need a signal
As they
soon.
capture a signal of Neo on their monitor, the scene shifts to pod with jelly inside, as hundreds, even thousands of pods are located from Neo's position as he sits up. Finally, in the real world, as the jelly-like substance falls off his face, he looks around trying to understand his surroundings, as a flying machine grabs him and disconnects him from the tubs. Neo is then flushed down a long drain as he falls down a long pipe in shock, until he is forced into water where he cannot swim after being disconnected from his pod. Luckily for Neo, a claw from the sky grips him and put him into the ship, where he is placed onto an operating bed. Asking where he is, he undergoes therapy to fix his muscles, fixing the holes around his body and increasing his muscle density. Neo is then placed into bed on the ship as he wakes up and stares down into the holes across his body. Sitting up in bed, he moves his hands around his neck to discover the large gaping hole that he was plugged into, as Morpheus interrupts Neo and tells him the approximate year. Located in the ship called Nebuchadnezzar, Morpheus introduces Neo to the crew of this ship, showing them together Trinity, Tank, and Cypher. Finally, Morpheus decides to introduce Neo to what he was in for. Placing Neo down into a chair, a metal rod inserts into the back of his head, where Neo struggles and gets taken into a white room, as Morpheus explains the very realistic simulation room, explaining to Neo that his appearance in the room is based upon his digital self. Neo is shocked to believe that the room feels real, even asking,
what we call your digital self.
This isn't real.
the truth that Neo wanted to believe is just a figment of his imagination, where machines won the war against the humans as he plays a TV in the room in the year 1999. Morpheus switches to the current year to show Neo is clearly bewildered in Morpheus's virtual reality.
Welcome. What we know for certain is that
The truth of the matter is, we don't know who started the fight first against artificial intelligence. Morpheus explains to Neo that humans grew too dependent on machines to live and they had the advantage. By sustaining their growth, the machines grow humans as an endless solution to their power problem, forcing the humans to function as batteries in endless rows, forcing them to live in the dreamtime world. From a little baby to an adult, the Matrix was masking the truth that machines ran the world, almost undetected, using a battery to explain to Neo that they have the advantage against them. Shocked from finally hearing the truth, Neo wakes up from the chair in a frenzy, unable to accept the truth. He launched upwards and falls on the ground, and he wakes up in bed. Morpheus sits next to Neo, apologizing about releasing him from the Matrix. However, he believes that Neo is the one who has been prophesied to do great things. He talks about the man who was born inside the Matrix and could alter the environment within, as the tricks of the human mind, in sense, could overpower the flaws in the robots.
That is why there are those of us.
Morpheus lets Neo sleep it off before heading into the cafeteria. There he meets Tank, who is Dozer's brother, who were both born in the real world, talking about the last sanctuary, Zion. Neo asks Tank where Zion is, but he distracts him with his training plan. Neo is excited to learn about the simulated world and conquer his fears inside the world to unlock his full potential. Sitting flat in the seat, Neo is set back into the simulation where Morpheus decides to do some sparring with Neo and make him bend the rules of this reality.
Others can be broken. You can.
With fighting experience uploaded in his subconscious mind, He creates a good fight against Morpheus, but he seems to lack speed. However, as the crew rushes to watch, Neo falls flat against the floor. As Neo is exhausted from the relentless training, Morpheus reminds him that the only roadblock is his mind, where his ability to be quicker or stronger is held back by his mind. Pushing him to his limits, Morpheus agitates Neo in his sparring competition, trying to unlock his full power. Making him fight is not going to make him bend the reality of his environment. However, Neo pushing his fists against Morpheus in the fight at astonishing speeds, demonstrating to Morpheus that he is gifted. Despite being in rage, Neo understands that he must control his power. On a building, Morpheus tells Neo to let go of his previous fears, making him jump across the distant buildings in protest against his fears. Only his...
Your mind makes it real.
You die here?
Surrounded by people in a city environment, Morpheus explains to Neo that ordinary people still connected to the system are a threat. At any time, the agents can control them and use them as slaves. With Neo following quickly behind Morpheus, he notices the woman in the red dress. But as he is distracted, an agent holds a gun to Neo. Morpheus freezes the simulation to address his point. He notifies Neo about these agents' notorious past in succeeding in every fight. Many have died against them. Notably, he tells him that his best option is to run away from them. Morpheus warns Neo that he will never be as strong as the agents. Neo is shocked by the revelation from the news. It shifts to... as the Nebuchadnezzar moves through the tunnels evading Sentinel robots. As the crew park their ship and shut off all their computers and electronics, Trinity whispers as her hand is armed on the EMP.
It's the only weapon.
Successfully evading the Sentinel robots, they activate their systems again.
Neo.
Cypher and Neo talk about the simulated reality and the code, even talking that
I don't even see the code.
Neo and Cypher share homemade drink together about the thought of their situation. He asks Neo whether he misses being in the Matrix without the constant fear of being chased by the Sentinels. Neo, saddened with the situation, Cypher, with a smirk, says to Neo to always run away from the agents. Neo gets weirded by Cypher and his remarks. Cypher defects and makes a deal with Agent Smith. After, Cypher agrees to Agent Smith's conditions to live in the Matrix unaware.
Nothing. You understand?
Both finish their meals together. It shifts back to the ship, where they eat their mush, whilst Morpheus decides it time for Neo to meet the Oracle to determine whether he is the one.
Taking Neo to see her.
They stand at a hardline phone number as Cypher leaves an activated cell phone to let the agents track them. In the car, Neo doubts the Oracle and her ability to determine his future.
Does that mean an oracle can?
Neo asks Trinity about the Oracle and the prospect that they gave her. Trinity mentions that she will fall in love with the One, as Morpheus and Neo step into a building where she is.
Oracle that made
Morpheus then tells Neo that the prophecy is a guide, particularly in finding his path. However, Neo is very skeptical about the prophecy and her cryptic messaging that she gives. They walk into the apartment together as a lady greets them, and they wait in a waiting room for the Oracle. Noticeably, Neo spots a child bending a spoon with some gifted power. He receives some advice from the child: do not bend a spoon. That's impossible. Only to realize the truth: there is no spoon, in which the foundation of the Matrix can be altered. Neo walks in to see Oracle, an older lady who offers him a cookie. Neo, unsure about the situation, she can only give him the advice that he believes in this reality. She points Neo to a sign above the door that says, "Know thyself," in response to Neo's skepticism about her message, sure that he will know it.
Being the one is just like just know it.
Making him open his mouth and saying he is not the one. She makes clear that Neo's final barrier is his belief in himself, even when Morpheus has more belief in him than himself.
Morpheus believes in me can convince him.
Further, she mentions that Morpheus will sacrifice his life to save Neo, and that a choice must be made. He either chooses to save himself or chooses to save Morpheus, risking his life. Signifying her point about sacrifice, she gives Neo a cookie as he leaves. When he goes back to Morpheus, he suggests that he keeps to himself, as the message was only for Neo. Back to their starting location, Neo spots a black cat walking past. Noticing this, he warns his group where they learn of the agents knowing their location, and they hurry to return.
What is it?
A déjà vu is usually a...
On the ship, as the crew frantically move around, Tank sees through the source code the unveiling ambush. The Matrix agents manage to take out Mouse, killing him instantly on the spot. As they compose themselves, Morpheus tells Tank to give them blueprints of the building, figuring out their exit path by hiding inside of the hollow walls, as the intensity builds inside the cavity. An officer discovers them hiding inside the walls, leaving them exposed. As Agent Smith transforms from the police officer, Agent Smith pulls out Morpheus from the wall, causing them to fight in the mist. As the police fire into the walls attempting to kill the group, Trinity and the team barely escape from the bullets, but Morpheus is left behind, leaving him to be captured by Agent Smith.
Smith.
As the police barge into the room as Morpheus lays lifeless. It cuts to Tank, who witnessed the whole ordeal. He gets a message from Cypher for an exit path exiting the Matrix. Though by letting him escape, Cypher attacks Tank with a laser gun and manages to kill Dozer as well, leaving Neo and Trinity inside the Matrix with no line to escape from. Cypher then taunts Trinity, leaving the crew to be very disheartened about the news of his sudden betrayal, betraying them for a comfortable life.
What?
Oh God.
I'm tired.
Tired of fighting and receiving no benefits, Cypher talks about living in the Matrix, then living out his life on the ship, even as far as mentioning his feelings for Trinity.
If you would have told us...
Cypher then decides to make a point with them, as the crew get more worried, as Cypher pulls the plug on APOC, leaving the characters inside the real world where he is in control.
My body. I go back to sleep.
Next, he moves to Switch, where she is troubled by the thought of this betrayal. Where Cypher is in control of the ship, there seems like no miracle for the crew still plugged in.
If he's dead.
Leaving Trinity teary-eyed, the thought of death without completing their mission. But by some luck, Tank manages to get up and kill Cypher with the laser gun, letting them escape through the phone. As they arrive onto the ship, Tank is saddened at the death of many members of the crew. The scene shifts to Agent Smith, who marvels at the thought of humanity living in the simulation.
Billions of people just...
Leaving Agent Smith and Morpheus alone in a high-rise building, Agent Smith presents the first versions of the world that broke down because it was not sustainable and caused misery in their perfect world.
Find their reality,
featuring how the Matrix was redesigned to function and serve their needs. Agent Smith describes to Morpheus, mentions how the human race is a virus that replicates and inevitably destroys its environment, where Smith points out to Morpheus his world.
Look out that window.
Back on the ship, they discuss whether to pull the plug on Morpheus as they crack into his mind, leaving them vulnerable if they do. They debate the issue of rescuing the agents. However, no one has ever fought an agent and lived, as Trinity and Neo look at each other tensely. As Tank mentions, they have no choice.
never send a
Connection as soon as possible.
deploy the sentinels immediately.
As they give their goodbyes to their captain and Tank reaches to the plug, Neo decides that his prophecy was to save Morpheus.
She told me make a choice.
Neo bravely volunteers himself to save Morpheus, just as the Oracle proclaimed, following in his belief in himself, just like Morpheus, to rescue him and come to terms with who he is.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Morpheus is ready to give his life for Neo. He feels enormous guilt for thinking about ending his life, redefining his belief in himself to rescue Morpheus with help from Trinity. Given time, his mind will break sooner or later. Smith takes a seat as he stares at Morpheus, saying that humans are a parasite to the planet's existence and their idealistic world, taking too many resources and destroying the environment around them. The only other species that are comparable is the virus as they move to another area when their own are damaged.
There is another organism on a virus, a cancer of this planet. You are
As Neo and Trinity head in, they stockpile on a bunch of weapons needed to rescue Morpheus.
No one has ever done anything like this.
With the serum taking a very long time to kick in, Morpheus demonstrates his resilience against the agents, as Tank caresses Morpheus's head, trying to cheer him on longer, as Morpheus struggles to contain himself. As Agent Smith opens to Morpheus, he reveals that being there is like a prison for him, and that his presence is keeping him inside a system that he hates to bits.
Every time I do, I fear that I've somehow...
Particularly, he wants Morpheus to understand that if he or anyone in the crew is alive, he will hunt them down.
And you have to tell...
Holy shit! Stand back up!
They're trying to save you.
After defeating the guards, Neo and Trinity arm some explosives in the elevator shafts.
Find them and destroy them.
On top of the building, they manage to take care of the guards after getting to the top. However, one of the agents gets on top as he dodges Neo's bullets as he fires back. Neo manages to dodge some of the bullets. However, he is no match until Trinity manages to shoot him in the head from behind, as the agent transforms back into the civilian.
Pilot program for a B-212 helicopter.
As Tank uploads documents for the helicopter, they manage to fly in front of the window.
No.
Continuing to shoot with the minigun-mounted helicopter as the agents hit. Morpheus takes the chance to stand up and run towards the helicopter as one of the agents pulls out his pistol. Hitting Morpheus in the leg whilst running, Neo takes the chance to jump out of the helicopter with a cord to catch Morpheus. In the chaos, a bullet hits the helicopter's hydraulics controls, forcing them to jump onto a nearby building as Trinity pilots the uncontrollable vehicle. Neo braces to support Trinity, who jumped out at the last minute to save herself, Neo lifting from the cable. As Neo and Trinity lock eyes together after the incident, they realize that Morpheus was right in everything he believed in. Then Morpheus asks for an extraction plan from Tank to escape the agents.
Voice, sir.
The view then shifts to the agents back to Neo, Trinity and Morpheus as they run down the subway station, where a phone rings in the background. Their location revealed by a homeless man, Trinity and Neo talk in private how everything came true but this moment. As Trinity escapes back to the real world, Agent Smith starts shooting.
An agent, you have to send
As
me
Neo
back.
realizes that he is up against Agent Smith once again, they stand at a shootout position where, without bullets in their guns, Smith and Neo decide on hand-to-hand combat, with Smith breaking through concrete like dust and managing to get Neo onto the ground again while sustaining a good fight. Neo starts coughing blood in the real world after the repeated hits from Agent Smith. However, Neo, as persistent as ever, gets up again to Agent Smith's disbelief to fight him again with increased ferocity, even with Smith hitting Neo with light-speed action against a damaged concrete wall. Knocking Neo into the stand with a train incoming, he moves him onto the train tracks where he watches from above at his increased resistance, jumping down to hold him in a headlock. Continuing to hold him still while the train lights get closer. As Neo clusters the strength against his hold, he manages to jump over the carriage, leaving Smith on the track. With Sentinel robots in pursuit to the ship, they must quickly extract Neo before they detonate the EMP device, as Tank tries to locate him, the closest phone, whilst running away from the agents. One of the agents with a gun runs through the crowd, with Neo escaping through an apartment complex, dodging bullets in the narrow hallways. He moves around the area with the Tank.
The back door.
Oh no.
Neo sprinting away for his life, unsure whether he will get out. Finally, outpaced by the agents, Neo is killed as he flinches in his seat on the ship, Trinity pledging her love for him. With Trinity kissing Neo as sparks flying across the ship from the Sentinels,
No.
Neo comes alive after denying death against the agents. He finally unlocks his true power. Just escaping at the nick of time with the Sentinels inside their cabin, they activate the EMP device.
Afraid of us. Your leave to you.